Tonight on 60 Minutes, a war-torn region seeks peace. But the pathway is narrow and contentious. The United States and Iran are in Islamabad, Pakistan, sitting across from each other again. But at what price? And on whose terms? A ceasefire holds yet remains fragile, and both sides have laid out conditions that could decide whether diplomacy succeeds or fails. This is a story about trust, power, and the stakes of peace in the Middle East. Reuters. 1. Background. What's happening now? The U.S. and Iran, locked in a 6-week conflict that has rattled the Middle East, agreed to a temporary ceasefire. But fighting in other theaters continues, and serious disagreements linger. Both delegations are now in Islamabad for intensive peace talks, with regional actors watching closely. Reuters. The ceasefire was brokered with Pakistan's involvement. Tabnak-Yar. Both sides agreed to a brief 2-week halt in hostilities. But the truce's durability is in question. Al Jazeera. Violence around the region, especially in Lebanon and the Strait of Hormuz, has threatened to undermine calm. Reuters. 2. America's conditions. From Washington's perspective, peace must come with concrete steps, not just a pause in the fighting. The U.S. has publicly described a set of demands that Tehran must meet for talks to move forward meaningfully. Reuters. Key U.S. conditions include end to hostilities across all fronts, including Lebanon, where Israeli-Iran tensions remain high, sanctions relief and frozen Iranian assets unblocked, a major U.S. demand before engagement. U.S. officials have warned Tehran against trying to play negotiators for time or advantage, stressing seriousness. Reuters. Iran Wire. On Manorama. U.S. leadership, including Vice President J.D. Vance, has signaled readiness for positive outcomes, but stressed there must be real commitments, not just promises. On Manorama. Tehran has not simply walked into Islamabad ready to concede. Instead, Iran has publicly outlined its own conditions for entering meaningful talks, and they reflect Tehran's broader strategic concerns. This news. Iran's key demands include a ceasefire not only locally but regionally, especially in Lebanon before citizens return to the negotiating table, release of blocked Iranian funds and unfreezing of assets before talks begin, recognition of Iran's regional security concerns, including control and safe passage in the Strait of Hormuz, reparations, mechanisms to prevent future aggression, and defined guarantees that the war will not recur. Iran has described U.S. proposals that don't address these points as unreasonable. Iran Wire. Iran Wire. Reddit. Reuters. According to Iranian political leaders, some critical conditions remain unmet even as negotiations begin. Iran Wire. 4. Why these talks are so difficult, even with a ceasefire in place. The gap between the U.S. and Iranian positions remains deep. One side wants clear, verifiable action before easing sanctions. The other side wants security guarantees and respect for its regional posture, including strategic control in the Gulf. Euronews. International experts suggest that a comprehensive peace deal during this round of talks could be unlikely, even if incremental progress is possible. Iran International. 5. Regional and global stakes. This is not just a bilateral dispute. World powers, Gulf states, and NATO allies are watching. A breakdown here could ripple across global energy markets, re-escalate conflicts in Lebanon and Syria, and reshape alliances. Many Middle Eastern governments have welcomed the ceasefire and urged both sides to pursue diplomacy fully. Euronews. War has paused, but peace is far from certain, with each side bringing firm conditions to the table and trust notoriously low. These negotiations could become the defining diplomatic test of 2026. Whether the current talks mark the start of lasting peace or just a temporary truce will depend on how and whether these conditions are bridged. Is Israel happy with the ceasefire? Israel's position appears cautious rather than celebratory. From Israel's perspective, a pause in U.S.-Iran confrontation reduces risk of broader war. But any agreement that leaves Hezbollah operational near its border raises security concerns. Israel has consistently said it will act independently if it perceives threats from Lebanon. So while Israel may welcome reduced escalation between Washington and Tehran, it is unlikely to feel fully reassured unless northern border Security is addressed directly. In short, relief, yes. Full satisfaction, probably not. Why this matters? If Lebanon remains outside a comprehensive framework, tensions could flare again, even if U.S.-Iran diplomacy progresses. The ceasefire may stabilize one front, but the regional chessboard is far more complicated. So the question remains, is this a true Middle East de-escalation, or simply a narrow agreement between two rivals while other fault lines remain exposed? As diplomacy continues, Lebanon and Israel may prove to be the real test of whether this ceasefire can evolve into lasting peace.